The phrase coming through from this person's higher self with the hummingbird energy is, I want a better life with you. This person feels that you hold some sort of key within you, and they hold a complementary key within themselves to unlock a door of potential, you for them and them for you, to step forth into an experience of love and partnership that isn't just satisfying on an emotional level or sexually, but also brings forth an aspect of moving beyond ingrained patterns, outdated patterns, maybe even ancestral wounds that were templated through their upbringing that had caused them to take on a very distorted view of love and partnerships because they were trained to have a very distorted view of themselves and the love that they had to give. This is somebody that might have been taught to silence their emotional needs in order to keep the peace. They might have grown up in a very toxic household where feelings were not talked about. You just get over it. You just move forward. You just ignore that. You don't speak about that outside of the household, outside of the home. You respect the chain of command within the household. And if you don't, then you're ostracized. And this may have led this person, pretty much since the time that they were young, to sequester an aspect of themselves for fear of being judged for who they are, for fear of pushing people away, for fear of being too much. That has translated, it feels like, in all of their interpersonal relationships. It has dictated the nature of friendships, how they've shown up in romantic partnerships, how they've shown up with you so far. And this is something where this person almost has had like an epiphany or an aha moment, perhaps because you have that same kind of wounding inside of yourself that you've been working to understand, you've been working to heal. And this is translated as something very inspirational for this person, whether this is something that like you've talked about or that they can just kind of pick up and decipher from their higher self. You represent a step towards more emotional openness. That this is something where they feel very drawn to you. You are very much outside of their comfort zone, but in a way that's almost like being in your energy or being in your presence, and how they are showing up, even if it has been a slow process of them opening up or, kind of changing what might have been the default of holding a lot of themselves back, or just kind of silencing or numbing out their own emotional needs in order to, kind of perform for what other people have wanted. There's a sense of you have redefined what home should feel like in the form of another person. This is somebody that feels almost that they've been divinely guided to you at this point in their life, at this point in their journey, because there's something where you hold up a mirror for them, even just in your own energy, where they are able to sort of recognize and see not just things that they need to work on, but what the net result can be on the other side of maybe making that what could be a painful and yet a liberating choice to stand more in their own authenticity. This can be somebody that in the time that they have been interacting with you, they've been in your life, there is not just progress or what they hope will be progress forward between the two of you, but this is something where they take away from your interactions a level of luminosity within them that has equipped and enabled them and almost demanded that they sift through and redefine many different kinds of connections in their life. This is somebody that has started showing up differently in other interpersonal relationships. They're showing up as their true self. They're not walking on eggshells. They're not toning themselves down so much. If they are coming into contact with people that are deeply triggered by that, this is something where this person is almost kind of following your stride and setting healthy boundaries. They're mourning the loss of certain dynamics or the way things were playing out for people that are not willing to kind of evolve the nature of their, kind of interactions with this person. This is somebody that is kind of coming to understand sort of like who has only benefited from like the performance version of me, or the broken version of me, or the silenced version of me, versus who can hold space within themselves to redefine how they have understood me or have known me up to this point in time, and are making efforts on their part. This can be friends or family, to try and sort of like change how they are moving in accordance with this person, standing more in that place of like being in that feeling space, expressing their own needs, standing in the truth of who they are. So this is somebody that feels like there's already been a lot of growth and evolution within them as a person, that they are looking at these things within themselves, kind of reflecting on sort of how they've shown up in their life up to this point in time, the parts of themselves they have silenced and what they now need to give voice to. And they are seeing that like some of this may be very challenging to kind of just soften into that place of like the real them, or a version of them that has always been kind of overlooked or denied. But ultimately they feel like they are evolving for the better. They're not having to create a better version of themselves. They're almost discovering that has been sort of hidden within them in the place that they had last thought to look. And the light that you bring into their life, and that is created through your experiences with one another, from the higher selves that trickle down into your mundane and material selves. This is somebody that has reached a point of like, I don't just like you, I don't just love you, but you are someone who is like very much aligned with my well-being as a whole, my well-being as a person. Yeah, we also have the blade. So this is the Ace of Swords energy. This is somebody who feels that you are the one. You are the person that they have been searching the world for many times over for some people, and have kind of not discovered. You have been that ever elusive kind of missing piece or complementary energy to everything that they are and everything that they can become. And now they've found this in you. They've recognized it in you. And it's almost like this was in front of me the whole time. And it required a return to myself. It required a willingness to kind of strip away the armament of everything that I am not, the facades that I've had to build, other people's shadows that I've lived within, the image that I've tried to create of myself and the life that I have built in accordance to what other people have projected or imposed upon me as far as who I should be, that is different from who I know that I actually am inside. This is something where this person feels that they can be very authentic in your presence. I'm hearing I'm one way with you and I'm another way with them. And so this is something where there's been enough kind of time in that energy of dichotomy. They've come to understand that distinction, and it's almost like steps forward with you are in tandem with efforts, like conscious efforts on this person's part, to merge those separate selves into one unified self. No more hiding, no more illusions, no more perpetuating their personal silence just to make other people feel comfortable, just to serve other people's kind of emotional needs or other people's wounding. This has been a very liberating process, a very empowering process for this person. The more that they've come into this truth within themselves that you're the one that I want to be aligned with. Not that I have to give things up in my life, but that this love between the two of us demands total clarity. What truly can stay and move forward with me and with us as a couple into the future versus what needs to be sort of released and mourned and stepped away from, that is only an anchor to a limited version of myself that had, as part of the kind of contract of its existence had demanded that I diminish who I am. I silence my own needs. I place others' wounding above my own well-being. So this is somebody that it feels like overall the interpersonal relationships that they have in their life have been strengthened. The people that are choosing to like stick around and are like, okay, you're going through changes. This is like a better version of you that is coming to light, that's coming to the surface. There may have been healthy boundaries this person's had to set in place with certain individuals that could have been kind of shocking, but it feels like a lot of people have respect for that because they see that it's not coming from a place of wounding, but it's coming from a place of like something is healing or has healed this person. Some of these people are aware that it has to do with kind of your influence, this connection. Not that you're like telling this individual, oh, you know, cut these people out of your life, but it's almost like a different version of them is surfacing at this point where they're not just being a doormat anymore. They're not just playing the role to kind of fit into toxic dynamics. They're willing to step beyond that, even if it means kind of like walking alone or ruffling some feathers. And so a lot of people are seeing that as like a very positive influence, like you're having a positive influence upon this person because they've come to identify and own their personal truth. As uncomfortable as that might make other people, they're honoring themselves. For those that aren't aware of this connection, they're definitely noticing that it's kind of like, okay, there's something that this individual has kind of found, like a secret sauce, a recipe for something that it's kind of like they're shaking off the old version of them. They're getting out of a rut. A dark cloud that may have been over this person because they weren't living in their truth has dissipated. Their energy is shining like a very bright light that is uncomfortable to those who only resonated with or benefited from that personal brokenness, but that is very, it feels like inspirational or reassuring to individuals in this person's life that kind of were like, I'm going to hope and pray silently that, you know, you're able to sort of overcome whatever sort of that energy of being very, very kind of contained within a low vibration is. This can be something that, you know, since they were young, they've kind of always walked with their head a little bit bowed. Ever since a heartbreak, you know, they never kind of got their spark back. Whenever that looks like, there's something that has been kind of a weight upon this person that they are noticing and others in their life are noticing since you entered the equation. Since this connection has developed, since this person has surrendered to it, that weight has lifted. And it's not like you're this cure. It's not like you're this miracle worker. But there's something in terms of like the frequency that you're both aligned with or tuned into. Something that is created between the two of you during your experiences and even the time apart with one another that is bringing out like the best within this person, that their energy is lighter, their attitude is better, they're more themselves than they have ever been. And so this person is like, I want to keep you close. I want to hold your hand. I don't just want you in my life as like a buffer for all these other things, but I feel that I can be strong as myself with you standing by my side, because I see you doing that in your own way in your life. And so I want us to do this together, to continue to do this together. Yeah, we have Taming the Wind. So this is somebody that it feels like is over the process of overthinking. They are very certain that they love you. They are very certain that you are the person that they want to build a future with. You are the one. This is something where, you know, they might have been kind of like distracted lately. You might have felt like their mind or their attention was on other things. And it feels like this has to do with the fact that like the good vibes between the two of you, this is something that's spilled over into other areas of their life. They feel very empowered by this love, and it has empowered them to take a stand in other interpersonal relationships where they could identify that were very like problematic, or very just kind of like made them feel very discouraged because they had to silence themselves to placate someone else's ego. They had to tiptoe around other people's woundedness. And it's something where this person feels very empowered to like use their voice, to speak their truth even when it upsets people, to just sort of be themselves, to come out of their shell, to redefine how others have seen them, or, you know, to stand up for themselves in certain cases, and not just kind of sit in the energy of like, I'm just gonna take on other people's toxicity because they're a long-term friend, because they're a family member, because it's always what I've done. This is somebody, it feels like, that is broken out of a shell in a major way. And so at this point in time, it's not that they're kind of like questioning the connection with you, but they're really able to connect the dots. Like, yeah, I've had to have some difficult conversations with people. Not everybody has adjusted to this new me with kind of like open arms and celebration. And then certain people that have been very excited about that, very open-minded about that, very supportive of that process. And it's hitting home for this person. Like, I wouldn't have been able to take these bold steps. I wouldn't have been able to see if that was even possible or necessary for me until you came along and held up this mirror in the form of all that you are and who I am in your presence, that has let me know there's something more than just kind of moving through life with a part of myself on mute, than moving through life with my truth contained, because I didn't want that to upset the image that others had projected upon me, or that I'd created for myself for the benefit of others, because it's what I saw growing up, because it's what I had to do based on societal conditioning, because I didn't know any better, because I didn't know I was doing it in the first place. So this person is like deep in thought, deep in this energy of gratitude at this point of like, wow, we are where we are in our connection with one another, but you have already changed my life for the better. And I'm so grateful for you. Nobody else could have gotten through to me in this way. And it's not like you push this person to change. This is almost something that is like a natural process of metamorphosis within. This person feels very empowered in your presence, very seen, very accepted, very heard. Even the words that they don't say, there's like an empathic connection between the two of you. You connect on sheer vibration before and beyond everything else. And it is that sense of reassurance, you picking up on, you holding space for, you responding to, you reciprocating in those subtle realms and in the way you're showing up for them materially, and allowing and even insisting that they show up for you as well. That this is an elevation beyond other kinds of connections that they've had, which either insisted on this person sort of watering themselves down, containing themselves in some way, dimming their light, or, you know, people that were just sort of oblivious to the idea of a better version of self. They weren't even operating on that frequency. They weren't awakened to such things. It was not part of their focus. It's not what they were looking for out of a romantic partner or in life in general. This is somebody that might not have even been their focus, but it's a priority now. You've set wheels in motion with this person where it feels like they would consider themselves at this point to be like on a personal empowerment journey, a personal healing and empowerment journey. And the big part of that is just standing in the fullness of who they are, allowing themselves the slow process of becoming comfortable in that, the loudness of this truth of who they are, even if this is like a version of them that instead of filling space with empty words and meaningless conversations, they're silent. They're more of an observer at this point. They're not quick to entertain people. They're kind of just sitting back on receptivity mode. That may be very loud for this person. Or this could be somebody that, has been kind of like the dormouse. They've been the wallflower. They shrunk themselves down real small to not upset the wounded around them. And they are instead learning to use their voice, even when it shakes, even when the expression of themselves or their opinions or their needs or their truth is something that is not well received by others, and more so when it is, and how that collides like a fear of being seen. So you and this person at this particular point in time, it feels like you're both helping one another, you're encouraging one another to grow beyond your limits as people. And this is creating a greater capacity, it feels like, to connect with one another, to come to an understanding of your own emotional needs, to give and receive in a higher vibrational or a healthier manner, because you've learned what that means and are embodying that for yourselves in a new way. This is somebody who feels incredibly strong in your presence. Stronger than ever is what is coming through. And it feels like overall, this is something where they're looking at it like, yeah, this has initiated a lot of change in ways I didn't even anticipate in my life, in all my interpersonal relationships. But overall, this is like really a good thing. I can breathe for the first time in years. I don't feel that I'm kind of like one way behind closed doors and I'm another way for the world. That there's a greater degree of balance, or kind of showcasing the spectrum of those aspects of self without needing to kind of rotate a series of masks just for appearance's sake. That there's a sense of like, I don't care what other people think. I care what I think. And then I care what you think. And beyond all that, everything else is secondary. Everything else can adjust. Everything else can wait. Everything else can pass on by if it doesn't like it. If it doesn't like this version of me. If it doesn't like the truth of who I am and who I choose to be moving forward. So I'm hearing the best thing that ever happened to me. So this person definitely thinks you're the best thing that ever happened to them. And they are really hoping that you feel the same way about them. So again, with this energy of like taming the wind, they might even be getting ready to kind of open up to you about that. Not just like, oh, you're the best thing that ever happened to me and leave it at that, but kind of like, this relationship has changed me. Meeting you has changed my life fundamentally and in such a magnificent way that I have to speak on it. I have to address it. I have to express that gratitude towards you. Not just, hey, thanks for helping me become a better person, but thanks for awakening courage within me to stand in that truth, to discover that truth, to embody that truth, to give from that place of truth to you, and to allow myself to receive within that place of truth. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button if you'd like to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.